Um, Welcome everybody to the Jewish Study Center. I'm Jerry Garfinkel. I'm treasurer of the Jewish Study Center as well as the technical director, whatever that means. As treasurer, I always tell people that our Zoom classes are free, but we do have expenses. And so donations are appreciated. They're not mandated and we don't say how much to give, but if you give a donation, that would be nice. You can go to our website, www.jewishstudycenter.org, and then you can click on donate, and then you have a choice. You can click on PayPal. You can pay with your PayPal account or credit card or check. If you if you click on check, the website will tell you where to send your check. Okay, some technical points. As you probably realize, this session is being recorded. After the presentation is over, after the session is over, the recording will be posted on YouTube, and I'll send an email to everybody who's registered with the link to the recording, and also maybe some other information that Cantor Debbie might want you to have. Now, everybody is muted, but we do want your comments and your questions. So put your comments and your questions in the chat box. Address them to everyone. Sometimes you have a question, someone else in the chat will answer you. And also the closed captions are on. So if you can't understand my accent, which is maybe still from New York from many decades ago, you can hopefully read the closed caption. I think that's all the technical points I need to make. Now I want to introduce the speaker for today. Some of you may have met her in a previous class. We had a class about the Women Cantors a few weeks ago, and Cantor Deborah Katchko-Gray is actually the founder of the Women's Cantors Network, which she founded 40 years ago, actually. And she's very active in many cantoral groups. In fact, she is the fourth generation cantor in her family. Even her great grandfather was a cantor, as well as her grandfather and father. And she's been involved with cantor stuff from a child. And she took the work that her grandfather did in kind of traditional cantoral music and tried to update to the modern day. So she is continuing the tradition of her family, but modernized it to some extent. Anyway, I will introduce her and try to find her now. Where is she?
I'm on mute.
You're somewhere. There you are.
Okay.
There you are. Let me add you in. Hope I added you
I'm
in.
in.
And I will leave. I will go out. And it's all yours
Thank
now.
you.
Cantor Debbie.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I heard about this wonderful study center when I was asked to be part of a panel of women cantors, and I suggested this as a workshop because I'm very excited to share it. So just a quick little background. I have a few visuals for you. This was 18 years ago. I haven't changed too much. That's my father, a grandfather, Cantor Adolf Katchko, and that's my father, Cantor Theodore Katchko, also of blessed memory. And this was a wonderful tradition to grow up with. My grandfather's music really is the backbone of any serious cantor. His nusach is taught in the cantorial schools to this day, and this black book is very famous. When you say the black book, everybody knows it's the Katchko book. And I grew up with this magnificent music. And there's another version of it, and this was the Gray Book, which was a little simpler, a little more pared down, and it's actually my favorite to use for davening. But growing up with these wonderful sounds, I realized that in today's synagogue services, we often hear a combination of composed songs, new things, old things, but we don't always hear the nusach as part of something else. We might hear a little bit of nusach, and I feel like it's almost like bringing out, grandma's china, and we're going to just, show you, here's a 30-second piece of nusach, and then we have the rest of the service. I feel that the nusach should be worked into the service more, and I was thinking of a way to do it, and I actually heard a recording many years ago from Central Synagogue, and they started with my grandfather's L'chun Ranana. L'chun Ranana l'Adonai nariya l'tzor yishaynu L'chun Ranana L'chun Ranana. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. Everybody's hearing the nusach, and then they're going to sing something that they know. And that stayed with me for many years. And then I had something a little bit, actually very unfortunate for a cantor, but I went to Budapest to a European Cantors Convention, and I was so excited. I presented music of my grandfather, and it was wonderful to be in the Doheny Synagogue, which my grandfather had trained in. He had trained as an assistant cantor, and he was supposedly offered to be the chief cantor of Budapest. But in 1921, there were a lot of anti-Semitic laws that were passed, and he decided to leave. And that's why I'm here, and I'm very grateful for that. But having this wonderful tradition. So now I went to this conference in Budapest, and towards the end of the conference, I caught COVID. And I didn't realize how bad it was. Coughing, 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 and then a few days later, I couldn't sing. And it turned out that I had a rare complication of the COVID of a paralyzed vocal cord, which is devastating as a cantor. I had to stop work. My most beloved synagogue was incredibly wonderful and supportive, but I could no longer work, and I had to take time off. And during that time, I had a chance to think a lot. And I thought about this music, and maybe there's something I could do. And then miraculously, 2 years later, my vocal cords started working again. And I started making this music with Beth Stiles, who is a genius composer and arranger and producer. And I could not have done it without her at all. And I would bring her little scraps of a thought process. I would sing the nusach, and then I would literally just take the chords from that phrase of nusach, put some English words that I thought would be meaningful according to the prayer, and then I would come to her, and she would show me this magic that she produced, and we would tweak the words, and I might have a say a little bit in something musical, but for the most part, I trusted her, and I'm very proud of what has come out of this wonderful partnership. So I have 7 songs, and my thinking is that I would go through each song, explain how I came about, sing a little bit of it, and then play the recording so you can hear how it actually sounds, and move on to the next one. And at the end, hopefully if there are questions, and I hope there will be, I'd love to go through it with you. Nusach, for those of you who are maybe not familiar, are the prescribed patterns, musical patterns that define a particular service. So Kabbalat Shabbat, Friday evening, Shabbat morning, 3 festivals, high holidays, they have their own particular musical motif. And that's basically what nusach is. So I'm going to now begin with the L'chun Ranana, And hopefully you've downloaded the free PDFs on my website, cantordebbie.com, under Sacred Sounds Reborn. All the sheet music is there for free. And when I finish doing my little piece, Jerry very kindly is going to play the actual recording. So this is my first piece, was L'chuna Ranana. And it's a great song and prayer to begin with, because it basically says, come let us sing joyously to Adonai, to God. I'm going to be using Mishkan Tefillah for the basic translation of these prayers. So each prayer begins with the faithful nusach, which is from my grandfather's works here. So, and also we sent out sheets so you can see the actual nusach and then the words. And hopefully you got that in an email as well. So even though you're muted, I'm hoping that this is a teaching workshop and you'll sing along with me, and you'll be able to walk away with music that you can share with your own communities. L'chuna ranana Adonai, nariya, letzor yishainu. L'chuna ranana Adonai, l'chuna ranana Adonai, l'chuna Here's an English. Come, let us sing to God. Let us sing to God. Sing with joy and sing out loud. L'chuna ranana. Come and give thanks to God. We thank you, God. Let our voices ring out loud. L'chuna ranana. Now, there's more to the song, but if you were doing this as part of a service, I would suggest ending there, because I always feel it's better to give people a little bit and have them wanting more. And you don't want anybody looking at their watch during a service saying, this is nice, but how long is this going to take? So I think it's better to do little pieces of this for a service. And if you're having a special music Shabbat, certainly do a whole piece, maybe even two of them. But it's nice to do little pieces of it just so people hear something new. So Jerry, if you don't mind playing the recording now, this is also the very first recording I did after my voice came back, and you can hear the progression from the first song to the last song. It got a little stronger each time, but this is the first one. I see an arrow maybe that's worth hitting. Jerry, do you want me to just do it from my phone? I could just do this.
Oh,
Would you like me to do my own?
you don't hear it now?
No.
Let me try it again. Wait a minute.
I can do it from my phone.
Okay, let me just try once more.
I don't hear it. I can just do this.
Okay, I'll stop.
Want me to do mine? I can just do it from here.
I'm hearing the music.
Can you hear me? I can just do it. Etc. That's good. I just want to make sure I can get to all the music. So I'm going to just say goodbye to that for a minute and move on to the next one. Oh, not yet. Okay. Well, we are queued up for that. So the next song piece is Or Zarua. And again, starting with the nusach. And I thought that this, I had no idea what kind of style it was going to be, because the nusach, Or Zarua Tzadik, Ulishri Leiv Simcha, Simchu Tzadikim Adonai, Ve'hodu lezecher Kodsho. And I just gave Beth a few chords. I gave some words, I gave some chords, and I love what came out. And it's kind of a country western with a lot of spirit. So if you have the nusach in front of you, I'll do it one more time. Sing with me. One of my goals is that you'll get this nusach in your soul as well. And then I'll do a little bit of this song, this piece. There's also some nice, easy words that it'd be great to teach kids choirs or teens or any congregation. I think it's got a really nice, easy feel to it. And it's all about shining your light. And so we used words that are about light and a light in every soul. I love that. There's a light in every soul, every spirit, young and old. Turn it on and watch it grow, love around the world. First a spark and then a blaze. Help somebody, you'll be amazed. It's contagious, it lasts for days. Love around the world. So won't you shine your light on everything with an open heart? Arzaru alat sati umayish leif simcha. Won't you shine your light on everything with an open heart? Arzaru alat sati umayish leif simcha. All right, well, let's play the recording and see if we can get you singing along. Just as my grandfather wrote it.
There's a light in every soul, every spirit, young and old. Turn it on and watch it grow, love around the world. First a spark and then a blaze. Help somebody, you'll be amazed. It's contagious, it lasts for days. Love around the world. So won't you shine your light on everything with an open heart? Obzaru alat sadi umayish leif simcha. Come together and we will sing as we share that light within. Send it out and let it in. Love around the world. So won't you shine your light on everything with an open heart? Obzaru alat sadi umayish leif simcha.
All right, there's a very cute ending to it, but you can hear it somewhere else. All right, let's move on to the next one because I really want you to get a little bit of everything. So the next piece, very exciting. This one also kind of surprised me, a completely different style. Again in Kabbalat Shabbat. So, Romamu Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachelu lahar kadsho, exalt Adonai our God, and bow toward God's holy hill. So the image of a hill became prominent in our words, for Adonai our God is holy. And I really love the way this evolved. And again, Beth surprised me with this very different style. Each song has got a completely different style, which is kind of cool. So this one, the nusach starts like this. That's what I thought of the chords. And what came out was this. Every morning when we rise, from the moment that we open our eyes, we give thanks to you as we sing Roman. A nice, easy for people to learn and sing along. Roman, Roman, Adonai, Roman, Roman, day and night, Roman, Roman, be our light, Adonai. As we climb upon that hill, oh Jerusalem, my heart be still, draw us closer to you as we sing Roman, 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 Adonai. And I'll play the recording in a minute. But also we thought important to mention Jerusalem, important to mention Israel. This is after October 7th, and Israel is on our mind, and was on our mind especially in those heartbreaking days. So we wanted to make sure that some of these songs mentioned Israel specifically. So now I'm going to play the version. end right there in the service would be fine too. Anyway, you get the idea of that one. I love that one. I think it's wonderful to to be able to use the prayers in a new way and keep the nusach there. Now, the next piece was always one of my favorites because I have a recording of my father singing this, and this makes it really special. It's a little bit like Natalie Cole, where she added a recording after her father had passed, and she sang Unforgettable with a recording of her father. I got that idea, and I actually did a Kol Nidre recording with my father singing one of the few times I was able to get him into a studio, and I added harmony years later after he passed. So again, with this Adonai Malach, I have this in my songbook, my Katchko, 3 Generations of Cantorial Art, and I harmonized with my dad, and I put it in a key that would be easier for a woman cantor to sing, or someone who's just not a bass. And I love being able to use this in a new way, using the old Adonai Malach and hearing my father's voice, which is so beautiful, and then having some new words. And in this prayer, which talks about majesty, God, majestic on high, your decrees are enduring, holiness befits your house, Adonai, for all times. At the time of October 7th, post, I don't know about you, but I didn't really sleep for about 2 years until, well, we're still waiting for some deceased hostages to be returned, but it was such a time of anxiety and terrible fear and insecurity and worry. And so to have a song that talked about my strength, my rock, I struggled with it, honestly. And we made it into trying to be a source of strength when we need comfort, when we need strength, we look towards God. And this prayer speaks of that, and we made the English words have that feeling. And then also we added Am Yisrael Chai, because we just felt we wanted to feel connected to Israel and have our prayers also towards Israel, and recognize that no matter what we've been through, as my wonderful teacher and mentor Elie Wiesel of blessed memory taught us, the world has always been in chaos, and we survive. And if we look through history, there are so many reasons for us not to be here, and yet we are. And so the fact that there are any Jews alive today is a miracle. It's one of the great lessons that I learned from Elie Wiesel, that if each of us can see ourselves as a miracle, we would not take our life for granted, and we would live a double Jewish life for someone whose life was ended and could no longer light Shabbat candles or light a menorah or experience our prayers, our holidays, or hold a prayer book. So Adonai, Am Yisrael Chai, hear our prayer, my strength, my rock, hear our prayer, Adonai Malach. I just want you to hear my father sing it, because I think it's the best. Okay. I'll just have to, here we go.
Cantor
Beth Styles' beautiful voice.
When I hear the ocean roar, I know you're with me. Holy, holy, Kadosh, Kadosh, hear our prayer. My strength, my rock, hear our prayer. Adonai Malach, I feel your presence deep within, forever and ever. Orech Yamim, holy, holy, Kadosh, Kadosh, hear our prayer. My strength, my rock, hear our prayer. Adonai Malach, na 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 holy, holy, Kadosh, Kadosh, hear our prayer. My strength, my rock, hear our prayer. Adonai Malach, Adonai.
Here's for Israel.
Am Yisrael Chai, Adonai. Am Yisrael Chai, Adonai. Hear our prayer. My strength, my rock, hear our prayer. Adonai Malach, hear our prayer. My strength, my rock, hear our prayer. Adonai Malach.
I love that. I love what she did with it, and I love hearing my father's voice. I always find it so comforting. His father was a very demanding father to have and teacher, and he gave him a rare compliment, and he told him that he had the voice of a prophet. When I hear my father's voice, it does feel like it's the voice of a prophet. So the next piece, I thought I'd gone through a lot of Kabbalat Shabbat, and I thought it was time to get into Mariv a little bit. And after the Baruch Hu, there is a prayer that ends with Umavir Yom Umevi Laila, Umavdil Ben Yom Umein Laila. So you are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. And I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to turn out, but I knew that it was going to be something about transitions, light into darkness, darkness into light. And again, always beginning with the nusach. And this is a nusach that is heard on Friday night. Hopefully you have heard it, and you'll know that it's my grandfather's. Uma'avir yom u'mevi laila, uma'abdil ben yom u'vein laila, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo. So this piece began with nusach, and then I had a friend, and I think it was Cantor Rabbi Naomi Hirsch, who said, why don't you end with nusach too? I love the traditional. I love that you begin with the nusach, but why don't you end and have a chatima that's also nusach? And I said, that's a great idea. We should do that. So this piece also uses the nusach at the end, but within the rhythm of the song. So I think that's super cool. And I'm pretty sure that hasn't been done before. So very proud of this. And I'm going to just play it so you can hear it and hopefully sing along. This is one that I got to do at the American Conference of Cantors, which was very thrilling conference recently.
And the air that we breathe. Who is the one who makes the light move to darkness and darkness to light? Who is the artist, the poet, who brings all things to life? All of the heavens praise your name, and all of the earth says amen, and all the angels know Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Yes, all the angels know Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Who makes the seasons, the passing of time, sunrise and sunset, exquisite design? And how do we know that the stars will shine? Who is the one who makes the light move to darkness and darkness to light? Who is the artist, the poet, who brings all things to light? All of the heavens praise your name, all of the earth says amen, and all the angels know Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Yes, all the angels know Adonai Tzvaot Shemo.
There's the nusach.
All the angels know Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Adonai Tzvaot Shemo. Adonai Tzvaot Shemo.
etc. Anyway, I love that piece. I love that it ends with the nusach. I think that's so cool. So that's something that could be done on a Friday night as the whole piece, because you'll have gotten through Kabbalat Shabbat and hopefully no one's looking at their watch. Then I thought, well, maybe I should do something for Hallel. There's still a lot more that I could do for Hallel, but I love my grandfather's Hallel blessing, and I thought that it would be really cool to do a Hallel. So let me show you about this. So the basic nusach, which you can have on your sheet. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. And I don't know what came over me, but I just thought it would be really awesome because Hallel is upbeat. It's got tons of great melodies to go into a little nugan. And then we have some words which also can be echoed, which I think is a great thing to do with people. You could teach it to a youth choir, you could just teach it to your congregation, but that can echo the first two phrases like this. From the rising sun, through the seasons, your holy name is praised. From east to west, may we be blessed, as your holy name is praised. Back to. And then you can do hallelujah, 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 etc. And I am working with a wonderful student from Finland who is a Baal Tefillah and working to be a Chazan, and through the European Academy of Jewish Liturgy. And I taught him this, and I'm working with him on Hallel, and I realized you could use this nigun through a lot of Hallel. So for instance, one of the Chatimot, again my grandfather wrote by Mekimi me'afaradam me'yashpajarim evyon Moshivim nidivei amo Moshivi akeret habayit Em abanim smecha Hallelujah. And you could put that little nigun and phrase throughout Hallel, and I think that would be amazing. So let's hear it as Beth imagined it as well and made it super special. Think about using it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel.
1, 2, 3, 4. the nigun.
Rising sun through the seasons, your holy name is praised. From east to west, may we be blessed as your holy name is praised.
Music. Thank you so much. I saw a little thing in the chat that they're going to use it. Thank you, Beryl and Ruth and Yael, I think. So, yeah, I think that's the first nigun I ever wrote. And, I always was afraid to write anything because I was sure anything I wrote would sound like something I heard. But then someone explained to me, there are only so many notes in the world, and they are going to repeat. But I was afraid of writing something that would sound like something that's already out there, and then I would feel like a fraud. And I'm sure everybody has this process in their head going on, and it's not good to be stuck in that. So I'm glad that I got brave to do this, and I definitely would not have done it without my friend Beth Stiles, who's a real composer, and just gave me the courage to give her my sketches and work together to make something special. So the last piece I have, and then I'm so happy to take questions, is the Ne'emar. Now it's interesting. One of my big frustrations about not hearing nusach in services is that a lot of people are just not using it. Maybe they didn't learn it, or they think it's doesn't fit in the service of sing-along songs. But I'm trying to correct that with this kind of music, which is so accessible and fun to sing and brings meaning to the words, I think, and the prayers. And V'ne'emar. So at the end of Michamocha, just about every cantor does the V'ne'emar nusach. So no matter what Michamocha you do, usually you have V'ne'emar Yifada Adonai Yaakov, which my grandfather wrote, which most people sing this version, which I'm so happy about. U'ge'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. And again, thinking about Israel, I felt like we needed to do something for Israel. So this is also before hostages were being released. And it was really a time of fear. And, Michamocha is supposed to be a song of freedom. And here we have this Chatima that says, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, God, for redeeming Israel. And we were praying and worrying about Israel and hostages and this horrible nightmare. And the English of this is trying to be a little bit comforting when you're feeling far from home, when it feels like all hope is gone. Just hold on, it won't be long till we're singing a brand new song. Feel the power of our Redeemer, Adonai Ga'al Yisrael, V'ne'emar. And it's a little bit of a Mideastern beat, which I love. I've always loved that. Feel the power of our Redeemer, Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. So it's something positive and something that shows a love for Israel. So let me just play it from here. And this is the very last one, and I'm super proud of this one too. I'm hoping that it'll catch on and people will want to use it and sing it. Let's go. Here we go. I love this. Also, my voice is much better from the first piece, so that makes me happy too. Thanks, Jerry. So you can follow the bouncing ball. Same chord we just ended with.
When you're feeling far from home, when it seems like all hope is gone, just hold on, it won't be long till we're singing a brand new song. Feel the power of our Redeemer, Adonai Ga'al Yisrael, V'ne'emar, Kivada Adonai et Yaakov, V'ne'emar, Kivada Adonai et Yaakov.
Times of trouble.
In times of trouble, don't despair. When the world is too hard to bear, God is listening to our prayers. Remember Jacob, oh Israel. Feel the power of our Redeemer, Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Sing along a brand new song. Feel the power of our Redeemer, Adonai Ga'al
There's just a little bit more of that, but I just trying to be a little aware of the timing. So I love that piece, and if you were doing it on a Friday night, I probably would do half of it, just so people don't get spilkus. But I certainly would do the first verse, and then the chorus again. So somebody asked me an interesting question. Do you learn Torah as well? Teach bar bat mitzvah students? I've been a cantor about 44 years. I just retired, but I certainly learned Torah. And my first position as a conservative cantor, I had to read Torah Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat morning. And I would say my first year was like having a bat mitzvah every single week, because from Saturday afternoon till Monday morning, I had to learn 21 psukim, and that's one way to really get thrown into it and learn. But yes, I still teach and do some private lessons and some private services, and I'm filling in for the cantor who followed in my footsteps. She's having maternity leave, so I'm very happy to be back on the bima a little bit, but I do love to come in and do guest services and do programs, obviously. So now I guess we can open up to some questions, however you would like to do that.
Okay, let me start. In terms of the actual process of composing, can you tell us a little bit beyond what you have already, how you do it?
Well, it's interesting. I was a chicken. I was really terrified of writing anything. I didn't feel I was, worthy, honestly. It made me very nervous because my grandfather was this famous, famous composer. But I thought if I just took his nusach and took the roots of it, and basically because I was nervous about just picking out a melody from the air, I took the chordal structure of his nusach, and that's how I began to think about melodies for these songs. So it came from the nusach and just became something else. But for instance, when you're feeling far from home, when it feels like all hope is gone, each piece somehow relates to the nusach. So that's how I composed. I did write a song, Shir Shalom, with Beth that had nothing to do with nusach, which you can find on all the digital platforms, and that's a whole other story about that song. But this stuff is all rooted in the nusach. That was my base from which I jumped off of, and then Beth held my hand.
How do cantors share some of their nusachim and come together and exchange developments in their composing?
Oh, well, there's lots of ways. If you're a member of the Cantors Assembly or the American Conference of Cantors, their conferences are wonderful. European Cantors Association also has wonderful conferences. And I will say the Women Cantors Network that I'm proud to have founded always has sharing and composers sharing, and all of these organizations have like an open song night where people can share new music and you get to hear new things. There's always some composers forum. That's one of the best parts about going to a conference. You come back with some new music. And I always feel if I just come back with one great song, it's a success.
Well, that's fascinating. In terms of training, you had your family in this world, so you certainly learned from them. But if someone were starting, they may know music. That's pretty important. But how would they learn to be a chazan, a cantor?
Well, it's interesting. Years ago, there were only two avenues, basically, or three: Yeshiva University, Jewish Theological Seminary, and Hebrew Union College. And they all have wonderful cantorial schools. And now there's the Academy of Jewish Religion, which is another wonderful cantorial school. So those are the main cantorial schools. There are some other programs through Gratz. There's a program, a Davening Institute, which is a renewal, which is Reconstructionist, which is also wonderful. And then sometimes people will study privately. I do teach cantors through the European Academy of Jewish Liturgy. I help coach cantors. I'm very eager to share this tradition because, many years ago it was an oral tradition that was passed on before there were schools. I was fortunate to learn from my father, who learned from his father, who was one of the first teachers of cantors in America and helped found Hebrew Union College as well, and the cantorial organizations. He was always a leader in that. So I think it's a process of lifelong learning. I think you never stop learning. And I would say one of my greatest teachers was Elie Wiesel. And that was not necessarily cantorial training, but for me, it informed my cantorate in a most meaningful way, appreciating music. And he also had a lot of music in his background that we have shared. And I have a program about the music of Elie Wiesel and singing his songs of childhood, which and lessons, which I love to do.
Okay, a logistical question in a way. Erin asks, isn't it difficult to get into the cantorial programs?
You know, I'm not sure how difficult it is if you have, some of the bars are high, but not all of them are so high. I don't want to say which schools are harder to get into, but I think it's worth trying. If you have a pleasant voice and a good spirit and a good mind, you should try. And if all fails, you can study with someone like me, because I believe the gates should be open, and I don't think there should be, so many fences that you have to jump through that it's an impossible thing. It's not impossible. If someone like me can do it, you can do it.
All right, differences, if there are, between the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi cantorate.
I would not say I'm an expert in that, but I will say that in the 1940s, my grandfather knew that the Sephardic pronunciation was going to be more prominent, and he actually was getting Hebrew lessons to make sure that his pronunciation would be more modern, because he came from the Ashkenazic world. But he saw the writing on the wall that even before Israel was officially, in 1948, a state, he knew that this was going to be the future. So, but I am not an expert in Sephardic nusach and trope. They do have their own beautiful traditions, but I'm definitely from the Eastern European Ashkenazic tradition. And also the American folk, the Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt. That was my soul music growing up as well.
Excuse me, Rachel would like to say something, I think.
Oh, sure.
That was fabulous. I always love hearing this music.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'm wondering, you've done a lot for the Friday night services, which I mean is understandable if you're working with Mishkan Tefillah and the Reform tradition. I'm just wondering, how do you choose which texts you're going to set, or which pieces of nusach you're going to set, with a little hint of, might you be doing Psukei de Zimra at some point? That's what I've been doing recently at my synagogue.
There's a lot there. Well, the one thing I just want to try not to do is make the service so long. If everything becomes a song, then it's just too much.
Right.
But I just know that on Friday night, there's so many opportunities for in Kabbalat Shabbat and you hear the nusach. But definitely Shabbat morning would probably be my next mountain to climb. There's certain things, but like Shochinad Marom V'Kadosh Shemo Yai Lai 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 Yai. I mean, I could do that nigun. There are lots of ways to enliven it, but making meaningful English would be good too, because sometimes you think a lot of it is moving on to the next page. So to stop and have a meaningful moment, I think would be great. So I think I will, look at Shachrit, maybe a little Psukei de Zimra, though honestly most cantors start, with Shochanad, or, some even with the Torah service. But try and find some moments that could be elevated and, fun to sing, but also some interesting English that elevates the meaning of the prayer. Because a lot of it is just, yeah. And it's nice to stop and say, well, wait a minute. There's something powerful in here.
Yeah.
There's something meaningful. There's something really beautiful. And we don't want to just, mumble over it. But, there could be a lot of mumbling. So I guess this would be nice to stop some mumbling and, put something beautiful in. But just, it's always balancing.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a 4-hour service. But I think there are ways of, putting in little pieces that make it really beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for pushing me for my next project.
What kind of exchange or interest is there from people with other religious traditions, which of course have music in them and give priority often. Have you had approaches by people from the Protestant tradition, from the Catholic tradition, to exchange musical tips, musical challenges?
To be honest, no. But for many, many years, I had a wonderful friend, and we did gospel music together. We always had an annual Martin Luther King service. Unfortunately, she passed away, Gigi Van Dyke, and she was just an encyclopedia of spirituals. And she taught me the spirituals, and I taught her our spirituals, including, my grandfather's Hashkivenu. And we would exchange our music, and every year we'd have a big community choir, and her choir, the Serendipity Chorale, came, and it was just magical. And that went on for about 23 years. And even before then, we had a healing service for the Black and Jewish community so that we came together in song. So that's really my only big experience with that, sharing music like that. But, I'm open to anything.
Maybe you can reinstitute it. Do other people have questions? This is so illuminating.
Seeing some nice things here.
All right.
People
Thank
can
you for
raise
your
their
nice
hand,
thank yous.
maybe. Okay. Okay, let me get in, I guess. Well, thank you, Cantor Debbie, and also Rachel, who was just on before, Rachel Edelstein. And Rachel's helping a little bit on letting people in, but also, she's the one who introduced Cantor Debbie to the Jewish Studies Center a few weeks ago, and we had a 2-session class on women cantors, and Rachel led that. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I thought if I could just click on that music, it would come up, but it didn't.
That's why it worked out just fine.
So
It's fine. Thank you for
There's another
doing what you
question.
do.
There's another
Sure.
question. Beryl has a
Okay.
question.
Oh, Beryl, you can unmute yourself, Beryl.
Okay, thank you. And what a wonderful session. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Cantor Katchko-Gray. I don't know all your history, and I apologize. And maybe this is too personal, but I was just wondering, what your grandfather might think about you becoming a cantor and you honoring his music this way, and if how you're passing your musical tradition on, if you can. Through your own family.
Thank you. It's a good question. Well, I think he would have been proud. I know my father was. My parents were a little concerned that it was a little rough to be a cantor, a young girl going out to be a cantor. There were years when I think things have evolved, and it's a much more respectful climate, but I think cantors didn't always have it so easy for many years. Some rabbis could be a little rough on them. That was at least my experience of things I would hear, as a young kid going to conventions. And so my parents were concerned that I wouldn't have, the countenance the thick enough skin. But it turned out to be the most wonderful thing for me. I have 4 sons, and really only one of them is very musical. But I have hope for my granddaughters. I sing to them constantly. And now I have 2 cute little grandsons. I've got 7. And I'm constantly, bim bombing and Wheels on the Bus and Baby Beluga and holiday songs. And I have 11 recordings out there. So, hopefully those get out there. I got a Hanukkah CD, Passover CD, and a children's and, other things. So, trying to share the music.
Let me jump on Beryl's really good question.
Sure.
Any thoughts about the future of the cantorate, if that's even the right expression? What changes during your long and rich career have you seen in the practice of being a chazan beyond the role of women? And has that changed very much?
Well, it's interesting. My grandfather always used to say, there's no such thing as reform or conservative or orthodox chazanut. There's only, good and bad. And I think it's the same with, women cantors or male cantors. There's just good and bad. And I think it is a little tougher economically today with synagogues combining, and some of them are shrinking. Some of them are doing beautifully, and it depends on where you are and the economy, and are young families coming to your community or not. So you see some places like Ridgefield, my home community, is just amazing. Our Tot Shabbat is overflowing. It's beautiful. And I've heard of synagogues where, if they have a Friday night dinner, they could get 150 people, and it's like an amazing thing. I think some places have the right formula, and they just know how to be welcoming and, offer a lot of food and friendly and good to kids. And some places, they have to learn. And so I think that those that figure out how to be warm and welcoming will thrive. And sometimes you have to go with the economy and make changes. There was a time where I saw the writing on the wall, and I told my synagogue, I love being here. And they had a time where some families were, not coming in as much. And I said, I'm willing to go part-time to keep this synagogue, so you could keep me, And they were so grateful. And now they're back to having a full-time cantor, and it's wonderful. So I think sometimes you have to work with the synagogue and see where they are and what are their needs. I got very good advice once from a contract attorney who we brought to a Women Cantors Network conference, and he said, don't just think about your needs. What about the synagogue's needs? What do they need? And some people don't think that way. And I always thought about, my rabbi. I had wonderful rabbis in Ridgefield. Amazing. What can I do to relieve his stress and his pressure? I'll offer to babysit his kids so they can have a date night. I don't know how many cantors do that. If I make challah, I make an extra one for my rabbi because he's been so wonderful to me. Why wouldn't I want to do something nice for him? It's that kind of thing. Don't just look out for what's in it for me, but what can I do to offer something? Another thing I think is really important, especially because we're all budget conscious. Look at the resources in your own community. What can you bring in culturally to enrich the synagogue that is not going to be a big cost? And one of the things I found is Federation has an amazing thing with the Jewish Book Council. And you can bring in an author, and especially now with Zoom, it costs you nothing. But if you can get an author to come to your congregation, Jewish Book Council and Federation pay the fee, and you just pay transportation and lunch. And during COVID, you didn't have to do anything because there was no lunch and there was no in-person. But it's such a wonderful program, and we used to bring in 2 to 3 authors every year. And it's just, it just enriches the life of the congregation. Look at the high school ensembles, look at your local symphony. There's so many wonderful things you can bring in without a big budget.
And one last thing, I keep thinking of more and more questions.
Sure.
In terms of the interplay with Jewish composers in various composer traditions, is there much connection between people who aren't working in chazanut or even necessarily in Jewish music, but care about the cantorate and care about Jewish traditions?
I mean, there are a lot of composers obviously out there from, different backgrounds. I guess my passion is trying to connect us to the nusach in a new way. I've always looked for music, from different composers, different styles. There's a lot of great stuff out there. But I worry that our traditional chant will be lost if we don't, hold on to it and at least present it a couple times during a service. I'm not saying the whole service should be nusach, but, find 3 spots or 4 spots where people can hear a traditional chant and, just keep the sound alive. Someone is asking me, members' fees are a big consideration as well. Sometimes it can, but I don't know a synagogue that would turn anyone away if they can't, afford something. They always will work with you. So I would not be afraid or embarrassed to speak up and say, this is all I can afford. and I'm willing to volunteer or do something, maybe offer to come in on Sunday to the religious school and help read books to kids or something. But I think any synagogue is not going to shut their door if it's a financial issue. I think you just have to not be embarrassed to just speak up, because they have to pay the bills too. They've got to keep the lights on and the heat and pay their clergy.
And would you have classes for kids, exposing them to the tradition of going into a Sunday school class?
Why not? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, some of these songs are fun to sing, like, Shine a Light. They could hear the nusach. They don't have to be the ones to sing it, because it normally would be a cantor. But, be exposed to it would, ideally, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, Jerry, you have things to say? He always does. Jerry, are you there?
Yeah, I usually do. Thank you very much, Cantor Debbie.
Thank you.
You mentioned a number of times Kabbalat Shabbat. Our next class is not about the music of Kabbalat Shabbat, but it's about the Kabbalistic aspects of the Chod Dadi, which is the first thing you do sing at Kabbalat Shabbat. So on December 7th, I believe, on Sunday, we'd have a class about Introduction to Kabbalah and focus on L'chod Dodi.
Right. Actually, the Lachun Aranana, at least in Mishkan Tefillah, is the very beginning of Kabbalat Shabbat. But L'chad Odi is a very important prayer as part of it.
Okay, well,
the Kabbalists love it. They love it. The symbolism is fantastic.
Yeah, well,
That's
Jay
just the
McCrensky,
teacher in me.
Jay McCrensky, who loves Kabbalah, he teaches various classes, including a number of classes at Jewish Study Center, and he actually learned Kabbalah first from the Jewish Study Center, so he'll be teaching that. And you mentioned about people, that maybe haven't got the money for a fee for a synagogue. I lived in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is very much south New Mexico. We had a synagogue building, which was actually built by one person, one Jewish person in town who was fairly wealthy. And his only condition was that his son would have to be the treasurer forever to make sure that no one ever was turned away because they could not pay the fee. That was one condition.
That's nice.
So that worked out very nicely. And I do wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, which is just a week from tomorrow. I know that Rachel and other people are starting their food right now. My turkey is ordered.
I just baked some mandel bread to freeze.
Well, I'm going to probably make a rye bread for that also for Thanksgiving. But anyway, thank you again. And thank you again, Rachel. And thank you again, Mindy. And I hope to see some of you on Sunday, December 7th for Jay's class about the Kabbalistic aspects of L'chod Dadi. And later on, we're going to have other classes starting in the new year, one about the Jewish justices, history of them. And we have other classes coming up, including the one about fertility issues in the Jewish community. And others are in development. So Jay's class may well be the last one for this calendar year, but we'll have more classes starting in January. Okay, I'll close up now, and you'll be all receiving an email with the recording and also some more information, perhaps.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Take care. Shalom.
Hitraot.
Shabbat